So before we look at maybe the return statements of a function, so I want us to check, we talked about our functions being reusable. So we can maybe like create another one. So maybe like the variable name. So I can create this with a different one. So maybe like Owen. So then maybe like as give it a value of 30, then give it a boolean of maybe like false. So if I now run my code, I expect to see these two statements. So we are having issue. So like the variable name, sorry. So I think we had a capital there. So if you now run this, you now see that for the first part, we are executing it this way. So like, hello, my name is Han, then we have the name, then and my age is 50. Drinking status is 1. So then this one now prints my 30, then drinking status is false, then my name is Owen. So that means that this code can be used multiple times. So to make sure that this actually like everything appears so you are in a new line, so you can use that end line and then you can now rerun your code. So if you now rerun your code, you see now that we have 3 lines, so executed differently. So for the first one, it's stating a different name. Then the second one is stating a different name, then a different value, that's that it is 50. Then status here is false, that's 0. So then the other one is 1, so that's a true value. Now let's talk about return statements in functions. So to actually like get to see what we actually mean here, so we are going to maintain this. So let's say we want to maybe like calculate a square of a number, or maybe like a cubing of a number. So let's just say we want to maybe like calculate the square of a number. Then let's say, so of course we have to take in num1 and then 2 numbers. So maybe like 2, so num2. So to actually like get the square of a number, we are going to say maybe like a result. So we are going to store this. So we are going to say num1 multiplied by num2. So this is actually like, just let's say we're performing a multiplication of a number. So let's say, actually let's just perform the square of a number. So we're going to just to maintain it as the number here. So num times num. So that's actually basically the square of a number. So then you're going to store these values in actually another variable. So let's just call this result. Then we're going to say that this will now be stored in an integer. So this is what this entire function is doing. So instead of void now, we would want to return an integer. So we are going to now say return results. So once you've done this, you must return something. It's just like going into a supermarket purchasing something. So you expect to return home some goods because you've already paid for something. So you cannot return home without something. So then on our main now code, you're going to call this one. So we're going to say the square. So you're going to say square of a number. Then we are going to pass in a number. So let's say 2. Now let's run our code. So let's see out this one. So let's see out the result. Now we have an error. So num was not declared. So because we are actually like didn't pass that value, so let's see. Now you find that we are returning 4. So this is actually how our return statements work. So instead of also doing this, so maybe you can just pass in a different value to be sure that everything is working fine. So you can say maybe a value of 4, so that should return 16. Wow, so it's now printing 16. So once you've called this method, instead of doing all this, reassigning this variable into like different variables, so what you can just do is you can say like return. So you're going to remove this. Then instead of that, so let me just like do it this way. So instead of you like having to print declare integers and return all that, so you can just say return num times num. So this is actually like very simple. So instead of having 2 lines of code, you can directly print to your console with the same 1 line. So if you now print this, so let's see what will actually like be on our screen. 16. So let's say we are now printing a value of maybe 5. So we have 5 now as our argument, so we have 25. So you can perform this. You can maybe perform maybe like a cube of a number, so you can just add num here and everything like would be fine. So if you now like say 3, the cube of a number 3, so if you now run that, it should give us 27. So you see now that 27 is being printed. So just keep in mind that 27 is actually being printed because we returned this type of operation inside here. So that's actually like basically the simplest way of implementing the return results. I'm not sure if there's other of course there might be other ways, but this is a basic understanding of how return statements and code reusability work. So I want us to maybe like execute one more thing. Remember, we add a code to find maybe like the largest number between two numbers. So we can actually put that code again into just our compiler. So maybe we can say int num1, then maybe like num2. So both remember are integers. So to do that, then we can now like have this number. So we can maybe like pass in a number. Like, so maybe let's rename our function so like the largest. So we now have the value as our largest. So I want you to first like have this number here. So once you have the numbers, then the next thing I want you to do is we can now start writing code here. So we can say now, so we can start now writing our code so that this function would finally be reusable. So we can say like for, so we can check if the condition, so if num is greater than num2, then we can of course have a variable to store the largest number. So we can like have maybe like result again. So let's just I don't know why I love using result. So result, then we can say int result. So we can now set our result here. So we can say result equal to the number. Then we can say now else, because we just have two numbers, that would be now easier. So result, then we now assign it to num1. So then you end it. So let me just give good names here. So num1, so that is a little bit more readable. So then this one will now be num2, because you don't have to check for any other condition. So once we're done with this, we have to return a value. So we have to now return. So let's say we are returning now the result. We have to return the result. So if we now pass in one number here, the compiler will complain because you are passing in one argument, yet we have two parameters. Let's see what will happen. So we have error here. So it says that num1 was not declared. So we didn't solve that. So let's run this one again. You see now that it's complaining because it's expected more than one argument. So if you now pass 3 and 5, so we expect that 5 would be the output because 5 is the largest number. So if you now run it, so let's say now we have maybe like 3, 3, and 5. So we expect that 33 would now be printed. So that was just a basic implementation. So we can now reuse this output function again. So largest, then maybe pass in a value 10 and 100. So we expect that for the first case we have 33, and then for the second case we have 100. So let's run and see. So we have now 33 and 100. So we could maybe like print it in just in another line. So we can say so that now our code is more of organized. Sorry for that, I just placed a character. So we now have 33 and 100. So that's basically how you implement functions. So you can remember that you can now reuse this entire code. So instead of maybe like repeating this code in different, so maybe like if you had to maybe find the largest of maybe a number, then we would, so just imagine in a scenario whereby you would be using this, so minus the functions. So inside the main you would be using like that one. So if you want to run it twice, then we'll have to paste it. So this would cost us a lot of memory for our computers. But now, thanks to functions, because you can directly use this block of code under like one roof, so that you can make it reusable. So the next thing we want to look about is actually the pointers. But before the pointers, let's do one more game.